welcome to this week's Talking Stick Show. So I'd like to welcome back to the show. We have G. Hello there.
Hello,
Hello.
blessings. It's an honor to be back. Really excited to see you again.
And it's brilliant to have you on. We've had a few internet difficulties straight away. As soon as I was saying, as soon as we start a show, the internet seems to drop down and we start having a bit. It was fine before, but as soon as you hit that record button. So what's new in your world then, G? How are things with you?
Wow. So the last time we spoke, I had not long been in Mexico. I think I had been only like a few weeks. Now I've been here for 7 months. I've been moving around a bit, trying to find a place to be that resonates. And oftentimes I've found amazing places, amazing communities, and something has just moved me along. Something has just uprooted me and given me the message that it's time to move on. The last one was a hurricane that blew my house down, so I had to leave.
Wow.
And I ended up moving from like a hot, sunny beach, paradise vibe up into the mountains that really kind of it feels there's like mountains. It's very green. It's very grounding, and that's what I was calling in. So at the moment I'm in a cute house, like a cabin, um and I'm completely surrounded by nature, and I'm just like going completely inwards into my practices, into my integration. So much has happened that I haven't really had a chance to integrate, and into service and creation, just creating quite a lot of stuff that I'm quite excited about. So this
Beautiful.
next chapter for me now, fingers crossed, unless the universe has other plans, but fingers crossed, I'm gonna stay put here for a little while and really settle down, really get some roots. I'm in Oaxaca City, so I'm actually like, I have a car, so I'm like 15-minute drive from the city center, but I'm in a natural park, like completely surrounded by nature. You wouldn't believe it's a city where I am, and then to just be able to drive 15 minutes, and there's so much culture and so many awesome people and so many things happening. And it's a
Wow.
very small, very cute city. It's not a big one, but it has everything that you might need. So
And so,
yeah, I'm
and so,
feeling I'm feeling good.
good, good. It's great to have you on. And I think you came on probably around about 6 months ago, half a year ago, 7 months. And the conversation we first had was just, I'd say, going into a natural state of going in that flow, going into that unknown. And it was an absolute honor to have that conversation with you. And it was so freely and so light and so great. So it's an honor to have you back.
Yeah.
Yay. And so for all so for all of those listeners who aren't sure or never seen you before and this is their first encounter, would you like to give them a bit of a quick going over of who you are and kind of what you're doing and where you've come from? Just a bit shorter than last time.
Okay, great. So I'm G Francois. I am founder of Ascension Medicine. I share my medicine in whatever form that is. Find book all of the platforms. I I make music, medicine music. I work with somatic and esoteric practices, working with the quantum energies and all of that stuff. I'm from London originally. I'm on a mission to live on the land in community and to open my heart and to be in service to the ascension of humanity and the expansion of consciousness and moving into our heart centers, moving into the wisdom of our hearts, and I'm trying to do that with myself first and share
Yes.
from that place.
So what has it been like for you then building your business and what you're doing over there? What year did you move from England? What year was it?
It was earlier this year,
Yeah,
2022,
yes, yes. 22, yeah.
January.
Yes.
January. So I have lived outside of the UK on and off. I've always found myself back. This time I don't think it's gonna happen. This time it really does feel like that chapter of my life is closed, and I'm here, and it's so interesting, just the concept of I don't know if you know the concept of the 12 tribes who incarnated, and where they feel drawn to be, and Mexico and Central America is one of those places, as well as, you know, like South England and Greece and Ibiza and all the main places that Spirit Tribe end up, you know, Bali, all of these like vortexes, and this is definitely one. It's so powerful. It's like drawing people from all over the world, and we're meeting here. There's people that I was friends with on Facebook that I've never met, and that I've met them for the first time here in Mexico, and so many synchronicities, and it really just does feel like I'm completely aligned, at least for now, where I need to be. So yeah, it's early days, but it feels like it feels like the perfect um like for what I'm birthing, basically,
Yes.
and that is the ascension medicine that's coming through at the moment.
And how has it been, so growing the business and your work, your service work? How has it been going from the culture and England going into Mexico? What is it like for you setting up there, and what are some of the good or difficult parts of it? And for those listening, if they are interested in moving to different parts of the country, what are some advice you'd give to them? Because it is quite scary in some ways to go. You've basically just gone from a very completely different reality to another one, and you're getting grounded there, and it's so inspiring to see you have that power and vision to do that.
Okay, so it in some ways being away from home helped. There was no distractions, there was no density of energy to move through. um I I didn't care what people were thinking at that point, because I was so far, and there really is a thing about that energetic distance, you know, just couldn't really feel like so much of the density that naturally just builds up from spending so much time in one place. And it was liberating to move away and to treat it like it's been fun. You know, I've started an Instagram, and already I have almost 10,000, like almost 10,000 followers. So I've really treated it like a game, you know, engaging with it as another dimension and seeing what works, and creating content which
The work.
which has actually been really fun. Like I make memes nowadays and things like that I would never have even thought that I would be doing. You know, I have a Twitter, I have a TikTok account, um, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Yeah.
I got it all.
So it's great because I'm networking with all of these amazing beings who are doing similar stuff but very different, but in, you know, bringing their medicine, their unique message. And I'm networking a lot through these platforms, and I guess I'm impacting, you know, my message is being able to spread further, and people are feeding back that, you know, some things are helpful and some things are, you know, helpful to their lives. So that is really nice to be able to do that. But I have found the challenge of that. I had to kind of overcome an addiction. At the beginning, you know, it starts out as like, okay, I have to post this certain days, and then, you know, you have to check it and engage with it. But then eventually, like, this addiction comes in, and then I found myself checking it. And I had never really experienced like a social media addiction until I started really engaging with it here. So that's something I'm aware of, to just really be here and present when I'm present, and then to be working when I'm working, and just separate the two completely. Otherwise there's no end to it. There really is no end to to it.
Yeah, and it reminds me that exactly what kind of I've gone through as well. I've had that addiction to social media, where it's got to the point where I don't have my Messenger or my Facebook on my phone anymore, and because I found that all I was doing was subconsciously going to Facebook and checking, looking at the feed, and basically being sucked into it. And so many people, gee, like I'd say probably about a good percentage, high percentage of the world are locked into the phones and everything, and needing that content. It's great to have that content, and say for you, seeing you as a teacher and listening to your videos and learning from them. But like you say, there's a fine line between learning and observing and taking in the information before the obsession comes in. And I've had that moment where I've started being a bit obsessed with social media. So I had to go, right, like you, I've been responsible for my actions. I need to separate my two lives, because social media, even though it's great, it has its great points. It isn't real life, and the real life people kind of lose a connection of real life and false life, don't they?
Mhm. Exactly. And you're so right there. It's a collective thing that we have to figure out at the moment. I actually made a video around addiction just before I spoke to you, that I've just so yeah, it's I'm really tapping into that, like addiction spirits, and how that is being fed. It's, you know, it's not just like these platforms are here and we're just addicted. They're designed to be addictive.
Yes,
So
there
many
we
things
go.
are designed to be
Yes, yes,
addictive.
yes. They've been
You know,
cooked up and the recipe's so good that we
exactly.
have to keep tasting of whatever they're fucking making.
Exactly. So I've been really working with like a lot. I've been channeling a lot and drawing upon like everything that I've learned in terms of, like, you know, rituals and practices and somatic practices, and just creating things that people can actually use in order to free themselves of things like addiction spirits, in order to free themselves of things like, you know, imposter spirits, and all of the things that come up. And, you know, just to give it a name, and to give it a texture, give it a face, and then and then connect to our sovereignty, to just be like, no, actually, you know, we can release ourselves.
And that's it.
Yeah.
It's, for me, I've had many addictions in my past. I've been addicted to taking drugs, addicted to going out partying, and all sorts of different things. And it is the for growing up in this world, and say when you're a baby, you grow up, your mother and father raised you, or your mother, so on, and you get to the point where it's there's nothing out there which gives you the truth. So for me, it was kind of like, right, this reality, what I'm in at the moment, I don't enjoy it. I don't want to be a slave. I don't want to go to work, feel unhappy. So we kind of go into that role where we find something like an alcohol or a drug or a Facebook, which actually starts feeding us with this false enlightenment. And do you want to kind of go into a bit of addiction? And it might be a good topic to talk a little bit about that, and how are the things, going into more detail of how we can break those.
Yeah. Okay, so I feel definitely the first place is the awareness always. And I think it's the awareness of the bigger picture, that it's no accident, that it's part of an agenda to keep us addicted, and it's in the foods, it's in the televisions, it's in every single possible thing, even the gambling, like shopping, sex, even things that aren't inherently bad. If they are presented to us and pushed to us in a certain way, where a lot of time and energy is going into researching what it is that makes us tick. it's it's all a science, so these things are then pushed to us. And so first it's knowing that, and it's knowing that our focus and is fuel. Like, there are beings who are feeding off of these energies, these lower thought forms. And so firstly to recognize that, and secondly to look within and be like, okay, where are my addictions? Me personally, I've had, like an on and off addiction to marijuana over the years, and sometimes cakes, but I can go a really long time
I
without
love that,
any of
Kate. Did you
these
say cake? Cakes. I love
things.
that.
And when I'm in that addiction, I could eat like 5 cakes in like 20 minutes, and so for me, it really is these two main things, I would say. Um, and so really like recognizing, okay, what it is, but like compassionately, because ultimately it does stem from trauma. It does stem from that trauma, and we're being constantly re-traumatized to keep us in that state as well. And so once we realize where our personal addictions are, then it comes into more awareness. Sometimes, I'll find my head in the fridge. I don't know how I even walked over there. On the
You're
phone,
there in
I'm
that. How
already
the fuck did I get in?
I'm scrolling, and I don't know how the phone got in my hand. And it's in those moments of unconsciousness, that's when, like these spirits, if you will, they can take a hold of us and take us right to the addiction. So in it, I guess the next step is like becoming like almost, aware of each moment, and then we're met with a choice, because there is the one hand where it's just happened completely unconsciously. But a lot of the addiction that I deal with is I'm completely aware of it, and I can feel it inside like a tug. It's like, go and do that thing, and I'm like, no. And so that is like, I would say that's like the next stage of having a choice. So we're not just operating from our unconscious, but we have the choice. But it doesn't make it any less easier, because then we're really feeling the physical effect of the addiction. So I guess up to those points, we can definitely do a lot with just the awareness and choosing other choices. Just even going like 3 steps ahead, So okay, if I smoke that joint right now, then probably the next thing I do will be to eat some cake. And then the next thing I do will be to just sit around and do nothing. Okay, so then there's 3 steps ahead. But then if I don't smoke that, the next 3 steps ahead could be really different. Like if I don't smoke that, then maybe I go out, maybe I connect with somebody, maybe I create a video, maybe I do some exercise or some practices, and it completely changes. And it's just kind of deciding which reality we want to go to at that point. It was like literally 2 timelines open up in that moment.
For cake, not for cake. That's the question.
But also I really love to work energetically. I love to work with the mind and the reprogramming and all of that. But ultimately I feel like I love a good ritual. I love I love a good like intention setting, clearing. And so I would always recommend that we take it energetically, because that is our ultimate power. We do have that power. We can connect directly to source. We can connect directly to creation, and those beings who need our energy, they can't.
Yeah.
And so the minute we do that, we're instantly empowered. So when we work with, even just saying affirmations and setting our declarations out there to the universe, even just from that point of view, that's a very powerful practice. And when we add other elements into it, it can just take it to another level.
And that's beautiful. What you were saying is, so for me, when you talked about you had that choice of, say, to have some marijuana, but you then looked ahead and looked at, if I take it, this happens. If I take it, this happens. I finally got to that stage when I got past my addictions and certain things in my life. And that's when I knew I was on the healing stage and healing path, because so many people don't even think of that. They'll just go into the addiction mode, they'll give into it, and they'll go, right, I don't care about the consequences, I'm just going to do it. But for you to be able to be there, realize, right, the programs are coming over me now, I'm going to make this conscious choice either to do it, not to do it, but I've chosen not to do it because I know what's going to come after that. And that just shows the level of responsibility you have. And for people out there listening who have addictions, always mapping out that in front of you, if I do this, what are the consequences of my life? Is it going to feed my life, or is it going to take away my money, my life force? And for me, going through that stage, and when I got to it, I was like, fucking hell, I've got all these choices. But before I didn't have those choices, I was kind of like robot, like, right, that's it, ring a guy, to go take a drug, ring a guy. And I was just stuck in this low frequency, this negative rut, which I went through. And we could go on to trauma, and you can go on in about how important it is to heal the trauma and how trauma is through the addiction. Because for me, when I had a serious relationship when I was 18, 17, I was with this girl for quite a while, and it was really, really serious, real, like, kind of first love thing. So when I split up with her after like 4 years being with her, I basically went, instead of healing and from the relationship, I went straight into going out, going in and listening to house music, techno music, and just going out into that scene. And I didn't deal with it. And it took me like 8 years ahead, or 7 years, 6 years ahead, when I kept going in and out of that addiction, where I actually went, holy fuck, scratched my head and went, I never dealt and did the work on it back then. And so I went back and did that work. And from me doing that work, it was like a full on death and a rebirth of myself. And I was like, holy shit, all of this and what I went through was connected just to that trauma. And it was as simple but hard, and going back and clearing it, learning from it and healing it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's true. It's simple, but it is hard.
It's hard, yeah.
Mm.
So moving into more trauma. So what's your take on the trauma and aspects of the addiction, and how can we handle that trauma and heal from it?
Wow. So I guess trauma is complicated, and I definitely do feel like there is no one way to deal with it. For example, someone who was maybe in an abusive relationship, maybe the way that they can heal that is to really stand in their power and just to be, like, or, like, and someone else who was in a similar situation, the way that they might heal from it is to, like, really go into softness and, or just hop on a plane, leave the country. But so it is quite hard to know, really. I feel like, okay, let me tune into this. I feel like when we're made aware of a trauma, and usually through a trigger, because something is hitting against it, and we didn't know it was tender, but it was there all along, the tenderness, and usually that is from the trauma. A lot of the time we do actually store the trauma in our bodies. One of my favorite ways to even really begin to get in there is somatically. I do a lot of somatic, like, movements and breath work. And just from a physical point of view, these are so effective. Myofascial release as well, releasing the
Yes,
fascia.
yes.
Exactly,
Love it. I
because it's
absolutely love
just
that
stored.
that treatment.
It's stored around all of our organs, it's stored in our whole bodies. And so a lot of the time people have actually, they're maybe seeing a therapist, they may be seeing shamanic practitioners, or sitting with plant medicines and reading books and doing the mind work and understanding, talking to their friends, and all of that's great, but it's actually still in the body. And
Yes, yes.
so they've processed it, they've moved on, but it's just latently stored in the body. And so physically moving that out, physically moving it, also, like intention, smudging it as well, all of these things, these can really really help alongside the other practices that are maybe more emotional, like based in the emotional and mental bodies.
Outstanding, and that's so true. A lot of people come see me, and an example would be a client came to see me, and he had child trauma of being abused as a child, and all what keeps holding him back. And he was in his 50s, and it was just the memory of his parents and the memory of this. And he did a lot of work spiritually and working on it in the spiritual sense, but he had so much memory still stuck within the fascia, still stuck within the muscles, that it was kind of like his spirit was there and his soul was there, wanting to be the I am, being in the now, but still there was this crossover of this trauma. And for them, it was kind of like a weird perverted feeling and anxiousness, which they were always perceiving as, what the fuck's this? I know there's something wrong, but I don't know what's wrong with me. And when he
Mm.
came to see me, all of the trauma was stuck still in the body. And I did a lot of psychic surgery working on the actual energy body and the skull and the anatomy, but he physically had to basically go through that stage of rites of passage of purging it out. And like you say, myofascial release is powerful stuff, one of the best out there,
Mhm.
to going slowly into the fascia and unwinding all the memory, because it's just fucking
Mhm.
stuck
Mhm.
inside you, and you're like,
Mhm.
wow. Like when you start getting rid of it,
Mhm.
you're like, you can feel something from a relationship or something from a trauma
Mhm.
just rattling out of you, like, holy fuck.
Mhm. And a lot of the time, you even like sometimes you're aware of it. Like when it moves, you have a connection to what has just moved. Sometimes not. Sometimes it's just we don't need to know all of it.
Yes, yes, yes.
A lot of it also in sleep. So before falling asleep, we can set the intention that we can ask our higher self that we can process all of that unresolved trauma in the astral, because that's one of the most powerful places ever. And if we ask our higher self for that, they will aid in that. So that is also a really great way to just process stuff. But yeah, it's
Yes.
so true. It's almost like a prison, a tomb. Like our bodies aren't tombs for our traumas, They're temples for our joy and our spirit.
And that's it. It's the weird crossover feeling, and I've actually had this with when I do sessions one to one with people. When I go into their, because I'm in their energy field doing the work, and I'd basically absorb their junk, and all of a sudden after a month, I'd just be so. I'd know that there's something not right with me. I was like, I feel good, but I just know there's so much shit going on with me. So I have to do a lot once a month of some serious purging from other people's stuff.
Mm.
And once I do that, I start to feel really good.
Mhm.
And
Amazing.
is it incredible? And what so breath work then, G, what's so I do breath work as well, and what is so beneficial for people who suffer with anxiety or
Mm.
programs which come up for them. So do you want to expand a little bit about how breath work helps as well?
Yeah. So I feel like it's almost like for me, it's almost like the breath is massaging the inside of our body. So not only is it bringing our awareness to the breath, which is life, and you know, in Tibetan Buddhism, they say that you can reach calm abiding just through the breath. If you didn't do anything else but just meditated on the breath, you could reach calm abiding of mind. And so, just from that point of view, it brings us into the present moment. But from a physical point of view, we're we're utilizing the full capacity of our lungs and of our diaphragm. We're moving a lot of stale energies where yeah, and depending on the breathwork techniques that we do, because they all have different different outcomes. Some of them can be quite heating and cooling. I use a lot of breath retention, especially on the out breath, and I will also use it with movement and sound. Um, I would say with breath work, for those who aren't too like those who don't practice it too much, who don't know too much about it, I would definitely say the simpler the better. Even if you just had one technique that you just go to, just one, it it does everything. So something simple like a box breath, 4 seconds in, 4 seconds holding, 4 seconds exhale, 4 seconds holding, something like that. And or even the 6 seconds, a 6 seconds inhale, 6 seconds exhale. um these like very simple techniques, if we just draw on them whenever we're feeling stressed, whenever we feel, even like we want to go on our phone or anything.
Scrolling.
Just 5, 10 minutes of that changes our entire dimension. Like, we literally shift timeline.
And for me, I remember when I did I pushed myself to do an hour's worth of breath work probably about 2 months ago, and I actually started, my legs started, got pins and needles and started shaking. Then my toe released this dense energy from my like toe, and I could feel it just withdrawing out of me, and my aura was just kind of on my kundalini was just shaking, and I was like, I could feel it just fucking being sewn out of me from doing it. And I was like, afterwards, I was like shaking for ages, and I was just like, holy shit, just coming down from it. And for me, I've had anxiety issues in the past, and everything like that when I started my spirituality journey, but through breath work and through regular looking after myself, understanding where these programs are from, I'm able to actually be a human and go out and socialize and have a life. And breath work is one of those keys. If you do have social anxiety and you suffer from being overwhelmed with other people's stuff and having high blood pressure, if you put breath work into your daily practice, your life will fucking change. And from my own personal experience of having it for years, as part of my many varieties of stuff, it's added the greater journey to me to go out and enjoy people. Before I was a hermit where I was scared of people, but now it's incredible stuff. It really is, G.
Exactly. And it can go as deep as we want. So, there's like the sort of maintenance level where, you could just do 5, 10 minutes in the morning, 5, 10 minutes before bed. Or like you said, you can go in for like an hour and reach, like you can transcend, it almost brings on, similar effects to taking a substance or a medicine.
Yes.
Like trance-like states, shamanic states, where you can really enter into that 0 point, into that quantum field, really, and work. It becomes a lot easier to work once we enter that place. We can more easily move things.
And
Yeah.
how was your Lions Gate then for you? How was it for you going? So let's talk about Lions Gate and coming past Lions Gate and the many gifts and not so gifts it gave us. How is it for you, G?
Okay, where was I? I was living here, Lionsgate. Okay. I think okay. It's so crazy these days. It's like I have no memory of like 1 week ago. You know? Like the times it's gone crazy. So I really have to like try and tune into it. But I think I was in fire ceremony, I think. It's been a crazy, like, August has been insane. It's been non-stop. Like, just when there's new moon, and then there's a full moon, and then there's a lion's gate, and then and there's so much happening. I've been very grateful for it. I can't remember it. It was huge.
Yes.
It was huge. Like, I know that, but I can't remember. Like, it's very interesting. Like, it's almost like my focus is so in the moment. Somebody will say, like, oh, remember a couple of days ago when we did that? And I was like, what? And I was, completely sober and completely present, but finding it really hard to remember things. Yeah.
So we had a lot of, so on the Lions Gate itself, the solar activity. So we had crazy solar flares going into the actual gate itself, followed by the full moon, then the Lions Gate itself. So it was basically just, for me, it was it brought up a lot of stuff I needed to look at and a lot of stuff I wasn't being responsible for. And it
Mm.
made me, it was kind of a moment for me where I had to do a lot of self-healing from it. But from that self-healing and the time I put into myself, I came out the other side of it a grown person and a changed person. And that's it. It's trying to have these times and full moons or Lionsgate, so on and so forth, as kind of for me, it was a rites of passage and to keep going and to keep going. And what can I do next in this great universe? And like this show, for instance, I've had some great guests on lately, and we had a gentleman called Andrew Bartis, who is a galactic historian who does Akashic record reading, who'll be coming back on the show next month. And I had a great conversation with him, Laura, Amir, and Matty, and we basically talked about the event in 2035, the golden age, and going into kind of like the galactic area in 2050 and stuff like that. And for me to be able to see this and to see you doing what you're doing and many different people doing what they're doing in different bubbles of reality is inspiring. And this is what the world needs at the moment. People like you, G, people like me, and the many millions of people who are doing the great work of stepping up and owning themselves and being inspirational teachers. So yeah, that's what Lionsgate brought for me. It was a lot of kind of
Mm.
realizing where I'm at and where I need to go forward. So what's it like living from a mountain then, from the ocean side? And tell us a little bit about the story about the hurricane then. I really wanted to ask that at the
Oh
start.
wow, yeah. So I was living like my best life. Like I had a big massive beautiful house by the sea, and I was being really productive, getting into my practices. Everything was perfect. Um but I was okay, I really quickly do this. I was awakened by the wind one night, and it came so strongly. It felt so different to anything I had experienced, to the point where I was crying in the night, and I was like, I'm really scared. And I was with a friend, and they were like, it's okay, it's just the wind. It's nothing to be scared about. I was like, no, like I'm really scared. This part in me that now I know what it is like the instinct, the same instinct that the animals have when they feel it coming and they leave. Like I felt that, and I was like, I need to leave. But literally the day before, my car stopped working. My car broke down, and I was really stressed. I was like, what am I going to do? I need to leave. But all my stuff is here. I love this place. I'm just settled. But something in me was like, leave now, leave now. So I thought, okay, whatever. So the next morning I woke up and I got my period, my moon time. And then somebody told me that there was a hurricane coming, and it was coming in the next couple of days. And I obviously went to the beach and did a ceremony and connected to the spirit of the wind, and it was amazing. Like, she was bringing so much, but she told me she wasn't going to hurt me and that I just must connect to the teachings. So I said, okay, cool. So all my friends were like, you need to leave your house. Like, your house doesn't have walls. Like, the roof is made of straw. You have to leave. I was like, no, it's fine. It's fine. Like, I'm going to be in ceremony when the hurricane comes. I'm going to meditate. I was like, besides, my car's not working, so I can't leave. It was raining tons because the storm was coming. I was bleeding. I couldn't think about leaving in a taxi or, there wasn't an option. Everyone was panicking. Everyone was like boarding up windows, leaving town, hopping on airplanes. So it just wasn't the kind of time to do anything. So I just thought I'll just stay here. Long story short, my car did start. I did like an energy thing on it, and it started. And so I left the house and I went like a little bit more inland, but still like right in the heart of the hurricane, but just not right by the sea in a straw house. Um so like a bit further out, and I stayed in a hotel that was a concrete building, a good solid building. That in itself was a crazy story. Like literally the day before I arrived, some guy walked into the hotel and like shot some guy dead. So it was like the energies were crazy. Everyone was like really intense energies. Um, and I stayed there for the hurricane. But the whole time, as the hurricane was coming closer and closer and closer, that part in me, I guess you could say, like the animal instinct part in me, was going wild. It was climbing the walls. It was like, you need to leave. What the hell are you doing, crazy person? And as the hurricane was there, right there, this part of me I've never experienced. It was not something I could rationalize. You could say you're safe, you're in a concrete building. There's nothing you can rationalize with that part. So I just had to hold it. And I thought I was losing my mind because it's so intense when that comes. But as the hurricane was moving, and I was in ceremony the whole time, as best as I could from that kind of state of being. But as the hurricane was like moving further away, I felt like myself returning again. I was like, okay. And it went. Everything was wrecked. The roads were wrecked. I was trapped in this hotel. I was, like the army were giving us food, and I didn't know what to do. I couldn't go back to my house. It was wrecked. I didn't want to either. Um, and the minute the roads opened, I had the message to go up north, to just take my car and drive to the mountains. So I drove to a place called San Mateo Rio Hondo, which is like the center of mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms. And I said that I needed to go and ground in the mountains and connect to the mushrooms, and that's exactly what I did. And from there, I drove up more. I was there for about a month, and then drove up a little bit further to the city, which is a similar kind of a climate. It's a similar landscape, but it's just a city version of that. And yeah,
So
and
the
that's how I got here.
hurricane moved you on.
It
It's time
really
to go.
did.
So,
Really did.
and so what's it like living in the mountain then compared? Because it's a totally different from living right next to that coastal energy and the tidal energy
Mm.
going into the mountain. What's it like with the contrast?
It's so grounding. So grounding. There's so many trees. I just sit here and I just be and breathe and just connect to the spirits of the trees. I can actually hear them now. Before I couldn't. By the sea, especially where I was, it's a vortex, it's like this hippie haven by the sea, and every day there's workshops and ceremonies and there's so much happening. It's like, so ungrounded, like super high vibes, but super
Yes,
ungrounded.
yes.
Um, and yeah, and so now I'm just like, just with the land and the earth. I miss water. I do. I miss the water, but it's nice to be here. Um, I've connected. Yeah, I have connected with the mushrooms. They've taught me so much. They've healed me a lot. Um, yeah. Lots of like hiking. Got my hiking boots have actually come in handy. I brought hiking boots here, and
Yes,
they've actually come in handy. It's
beautiful. And
nice to wear a jumper, you know.
yes. And how close are you to them? Are you in how close are you to the mountain? Are you literally on the side of the
I'm
mountain?
I'm
How?
like right in it. Yeah, I'm like right
Yes,
there. Just step
beautiful,
outside my door and I just go up.
beautiful. And so for the future, then, what have you got any plans coming up with the Ascension Medicine and the business going forward? Is there anything you'd like to share before we close the show?
Um, there's some exciting things in the creation. I don't want to share too much just yet.
Yes.
So, for the time being, I'm working on creating really accessible practices. So, not only, like informative videos about stuff that's happening, but then also, like very practical videos, very practical rituals and, practices that people can do on every topic, almost like a library of anything that you might ever need. Um, is quite ambitious, but I do my best.
And you've got very good marketing skills, and I really like the short clips and how you get everything in those clips of the information and the pockets of teaching. So it's a very good skill you have.
Thank you very much. It has been it's I'm developing it because again it's very new. When when the camera's in front, it's not the most natural thing in the world, and sometimes I'll be channeling all of this, and the minute I put the camera, I'm just like, it's very
We all
hard,
have
but
those.
I'm
Yes.
getting there. I'm getting there definitely, and purifying my vessel so that I can be more clearer, bringing clearer messages. And yeah, so I'm just gonna carry on like growing my stuff and putting myself out there so that people can get my vibe. And um music as well, working on some music. And yeah, and some other exciting things that I will definitely share uh when it feels a bit more
Yes,
ready.
when you're
Yeah, it's
ready
a
to
bit
share it,
premature at the
yes.
moment.
Yes. And before we go, have you got anything to say, feeling just going in the moment of the now and kind of expanding and going deep into your heart? Is there anything you wish to share before we say goodbye on this show?
I would just like to say that if you're watching this right now, then you are definitely on the path. You are definitely finding the information and the communities that are taking you to the next level. And you are so needed right now. We are doing this. We really are. It really is shifting. It's an exciting time to be alive. Sometimes it can be hard because it's all coming up, and it's us that are processing it. We're processing for our ancestors, we're processing for the earth, we're processing for those who aren't processing, and it can be intense, but
Yes.
we're doing it, and we're doing a great job, and we're figuring it out as we go. We're learning from each other. Every single one of us is the medicine and is bringing something to this. So I would just say keep going. Don't pressure yourself to know what your medicine is. You just are it, and it will just unfold.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I love doing that, putting someone on the spot and see going into that unknown aspect of that flow. And it's so unique. You'd be able to turn that skill on whenever you wish. So thank you so much, G, for coming on the
Gratitude.
show. And again, we'll catch up in maybe like 6 or 8 months' time.
Yeah, that would be
Yes,
amazing. I would
yes.
love that.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're incredible, sister. And thank you for coming on the show. And how can people get hold of you as well if they want to connect?
Okay, so on Instagram is G_Francois. Facebook is also G Francois. There's Ascension Medicine on Facebook, Ascension Medicine on YouTube, and ascensionmedicine.org is the website. We're actually
Outstanding.
creating like a bit of a community there. You can join up and make a profile and, just be there. So
Yes.
all of the ways.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for coming on the show. It's an absolute honor. Thank you.
Much gratitude. And
Thank you,
blessings.
G. Blessings to you as well. And thank you everyone for watching this week's show. And we'll be back on Saturday with Nalini Diasera as we
Oh,
continue this
wow.
talk to
Yeah,
beyond.
I'll be tuning in for that.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Amazing.
Take care. Bless you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye now. Bye.